The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Hello, and welcome to the American Veteran. I'm Dale Parrish, your host. Co-host today is Carl Fowler. Bud won't be able to make it with us anymore, so Carl's going to fill in whenever possible. Before I introduce my guest, I'd like to talk a little bit about a friend of ours. A few weeks ago, Ken Remke passed away. Ken was the commander of the Korean War Veterans Association, Indiana Chapter 1. Ken was on this program, I think, 3 different occasions. No matter how hard it was for him to get around the last few months, he was always there with a smile, ready to help out whenever he can. We send our prayers and our thoughts to his wife, Mariana, and to his family. We'll all miss him very much. Gary Sink, the first vice commander, stepped up to the plate and took over where Ken had left off, and we'd like to send our wishes to him. Our guest today is Jim Winnie and Mel Frankie. They're both Korean War veterans, but before that they was World War II veterans. Yeah. And they was both involved in the Normandy invasion. Jim, let's start out with you. What was your job in the...
I was crew chief in the C-47 and Troop Carrier Command.
That was the old workhorse, wasn't it?
The old C-47 workhorse. A lot of the in World War II, the fighters and the bombers got all the credit, and we did all the work.
Yeah. You hauled lots of cargo, didn't you?
A lot of cargo.
Troops.
A lot of troops.
Ammo?
Yeah, like on D-Day, we had our 316th Troop Carrier Group. We had 72 airplanes in there, and we dropped over 1,250-some paratroopers on Normandy that day.
Is that the 101st?
We dropped the 101st, yeah. Mm-hmm. Some had 82nd Airborne too, I believe, yeah. I don't know which squadrons. I was in the 45th Troop Carrier. They had the 101st. Yeah.
As a crew chief, what was your job?
As a crew chief, I was to take care of seeing the airplane was fueled, any maintenance problems on the aircraft, take care of the maintenance on the ground and in the air. But the only thing I did is assist the pilots and maybe synchronizing engines or something like that. But I didn't have much to do in the air.
But you were responsible for the plane, were you not?
Well, I was in my airplane. I was the crew chief in that airplane. Yeah.
Okay. So did the pilots have to sign off when they?
Oh, yeah, pilots. In fact, I had control of that air. If I put a red X on that airplane, it didn't fly.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So you had a good responsibility to keep that thing in the air, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we could take care of whatever. Or if we wanted to stay overnight, we could stay someplace overnight too.
Little perks.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
How many people was on the crew?
On the crew?
Yeah.
Normally just 4. Sometimes we'd get a navigator, but about every 4th airplane had a navigator. We didn't always have a navigator with us. But I never had it. I never had it on our crew. We never had a navigator. We were just 4
so
of us.
The planes flew together, so you didn't really need it.
Yeah, like Oh, like in the invasion, we took off and got 3 ships, in fact, 3 ships, 9 ships, and then 50 foot up, another 9 ships, and stacked up from
different elevations.
Yeah, different elevations, so you didn't get in prop wash that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many troops would the ship hold?
The troops held 24 guys in them, 24 paratroopers, yeah.
Along each side?
Along each side,
Yeah.
12 on each side. Yeah. Yeah.
How many flights did you make? Did you?
I was really
keep track or what?
No, I never kept track. I don't know. I was real fortunate in World War II because for a long time I had to teach guys how to run a snatch unit in a C-47. Now a snatch unit is a unit that takes a glider and picks it up off the ground, and snatches it right up into the air. Now a snatch unit is this unit right here. It's like a big spinning reel inside the airplane, and then this outside where this wooden pole coming down with a hook on the end of it. That's where it's coming down and you snatch there.
that wooden pole guides the line, and the hook there snatches it then.
Yeah, and it's as the cable runs out. It's like a big spinning reel. You can put your brake on, which got the brake right here, and it slows the thing down. Then you can take and reel him back in. And on my unit, I was smart enough to paint the cable red, green, and so I knew how many feet I had out, so I could bring him back in. I could bring him up to the red and then stop, and then.
You didn't want to pull him right up into the tail.
No,
of the
we didn't
plane.
want to get him up there. Had to stay out there long enough to.
Yeah.
So he could stay up above the prop wash too.
Sure.
That was a loaded glider now?
Loaded glider. It did not work out too well because they never snatched too many. I think throughout the whole World War II, in combat, they only snatched 500 and some gliders off the ground. And that includes the ones over in Burma theater. A lot of people don't realize in World War II that the troop carrier was putting guys in gliders out over in Burma. The gliders was big enough that they could carry a small, the nose would come up and you could put a small bulldozer in them. They had a small bulldozer in that air glider. The bulldozer would jump people out and they'd clear enough ground so they could get a glider in.
Okay.
And then they'd have this bulldozer, and then to clear enough ground in Burma, they could start bringing C-47s in, get more equipment in.
Hold that up and show that picture.
That there's really what that picture right there. This airplane's about ready to snatch that glider off the ground.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, he's about ready to get that glider off the ground. And if you look real close at that, that's British markings on the airplane and on the glider.
Yes, it is.
The British used our equipment too.
Okay.
Now, those gliders was a one-time.
Mostly, yeah. Most of them are just one flight. Yeah, they. I think what they cost us like 15,000 or something like that.
Made out of canvas and plywood, I suppose.
Well, there was the fuselage was a chromoly steel tubing wrapped with canvas, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, they were. I kind of like the things. There's a picture of one right there. That one right there is called the Flying Falcon. Now, this high school in Greenville, Michigan, the whole school went together and bought that airplane.
Okay.
And brought that glider and gave it to the school bought that glider and gave it to them, and they called it the Fighting Falcon. And it's the one that carried to General Brandt, I think, in Normandy. but it wasn't too great because when they landed in one of the hedgerows in France, and he was sitting in a Jeep, and him, the pilot, and everybody got killed. In the landing of the Fighting Falcon.
Yeah, that's a pretty sudden stop.
Oh yeah,
yeah. A lot of them had trouble landing.
In Normandy, the glider situation was bad because of the fact they didn't have enough intelligence at the time. Now, when we did Market Garden with gliders, everything was a lot better. Market Garden was where. You ever see the movie The Bridge Too Far?
Yeah.
Well, that fifth bridge, there was 5 bridges they wanted to take. They took gliders in and took them up and put them in on there. Yeah.
Glider would probably do all right landing on a road or something this way, but not in the countryside.
I've landed in them out in the fields, and
the field would be okay.
If you look real close, see these skids right here?
Yeah.
The first thing you do when you touch down, you shove the nose right down on the ground and let that skid hit that. Okay. And then you can stop that thing in about 50 foot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just plows up the dirt?
Just plows, yeah.
Okay.
Get whiplash taken off. And
that's one thing about snatching the things. The tow rope stood at the top, and when you snatch it, it wants to go over on the skids right away. So that was one thing you had to worry about when you were snatching a glider out. What kind of dirt you're going to have to snatch him out of.
Right. Okay.
You mentioned a while ago that your group was good at dropping the guys where they were supposed to be.
Yeah, we did a good job on putting our 45th Troop Carrier Squadron. I have to show you that. Right here, as we went in. This circle was our drop zone on Normandy.
Okay.
Every one of them marks, them little dots, is where our airplanes put their paratroopers, and we put them right in the center, right in the center of the drop zone. Everybody said that they didn't take them and scattered them all over Normandy. Our squadron didn't. We put them right where they were supposed to go.
That's what I've read. That there was scattered all over.
They always hear about them being scattered and the planes flying too high and stuff like that. It might have happened in some of the other groups, but for one thing, the paratroopers were kind of at fault because they always came in, and of course I don't blame them. Well, whatever they did in practice jumping, they doubled their weight with extra ammo and stuff they carried with them, and each paratrooper probably weighed more than 100 pounds more than he did when he was jumping for practice.
Yeah.
And so naturally they were coming down faster, and that's why they thought they were higher up and stuff like that. Okay. I don't blame them. I wanted to carry all I could carry too, I suppose.
There was one problem. I think Rommel dammed up the river and flooded,
and they flooded
several thousand acres.
And two of our drop zones was that way. They had all flooded.
Troopers that dropped there, some of them didn't have a chance.
Like I say, our 316 dropped 1,200 people, and there was 5 other groups dropping gliders at the same time, or dropping paratroopers at the same time. So they were all over the area at that time. And you had to watch out when you was when they dropped their paratroopers. The first thing you did was drop right down on the treetop level, because that was the only protection you had. You always dropped it from 800 to 1,000 foot. You're right in rifle range, with that C-47. That C-47 don't have
no protection at all.
No protection at all. It doesn't even have self-sealing fuel tanks or anything like that.
So a hit on it is pretty devastating.
So the thing was to drop right down on it.
I notice he's flying with his door open.
Well, that's
you got an observer there or something, or what?
Well, you had to leave that door open to get put that hook on that pole first.
Oh.
It wasn't on that pole until after it's laying in position. Then you have to let that hook slide down to the end. So you have to sit there and run that snatch unit down to where that hook is down, where it's going to be right here at the end where you can get it.
So you'd sit in that doorway in a harness, probably.
Well, we had a harness on.
Harness, so you wouldn't fall out.
In the same way, when you brought this glider back in, when you come up to where you get the actual tow rope itself, the nylon rope, you bring that cable back up here, then you have to reach out with a hook and bring that up into the airplane and hook it fast. So when you get over the drop zone, the airplane goes down, you still got the tie rope in here to the airplane. You can bring that back and salvage it, in other words.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, depending on what type of rope you got here, what kind of settings you put on your, the nylon rope and the new rope would stretch.
How low would he be flying when he snatch a glider?
He looks like he's about 25 feet.
Yeah, you're just about, In fact, some of these guys would misjudge and knock that pole off.
On the ground?
On the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that plane there is the C-47?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now they build lots of those.
Oh yeah, they built a lot of 47.
They flew them over in Burma, what they called the hump.
Hump. The C-47 didn't fly the hump much, but they did. They didn't have
I think they did.
Yeah, they did. They had more C-46s flying the hump.
Okay, I'm familiar with that plane also, but I saw I guess it was a newsreel light where they're still flying that plane as a passenger plane up in New England states.
Oh, yeah. There's a C-46.
It has a round nose on it. The other in the cockpit has got a nose that sticks out. So this plane is a little bit bigger.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's got R-2800s in where the C-40s have 1830s.
Yeah. But they basically did the same work, same job.
Same work, yeah. And it had a two-speed blower, so you could go a lot higher with a 46 than the 47. That's why the 47 had to fly the
curves.
Had to go between the mountains over the hump.
Yeah, fly the passes and that.
46 to get up over.
Get up over them. Well, the higher they go, generally, the faster they can go.
Oh, right? Yeah.
And because there's less air up there, so they have less friction.
Friction, yeah.
So the higher you go, and that's the way jets, they go faster. The higher they go, the faster they can go. They have less wind affecting their plane.
Yeah.
Well, they used the C-47 for years and years after World War II.
Speaking of C-47s, in Geneseo, New York, my 316th outfit, there's a C-47 still flying in Geneseo, New York. It flew in Normandy, and flying by our group commander of the 316th in Normandy. It's in Geneseo yet.
Does that plane, is that the plane that has the highest number of hours on it?
That I can't tell you. I don't know.
There is a C-47 flying that has more hours on it than any other plane in the United States.
There's one in here. I'm going to go to this. This is the Silent Wings Museum in Lubbock, Texas. I'm going to go to that reunion this fall, and they got a C-47 there, and it's called something else. But anyway, we're supposed to be able to get in, and I don't know whether they'll let us fly it or not, but we're going to try it. It's called Sky King's aircraft.
Sky King, yes.
But,
TV show, right?
Yeah, old TV show. That'd be one of the things that I'm looking forward to.
Well, you might, I recall you mentioning something, you met General Olds at one time.
One time, yeah. General, I was working on a C-46 at that time. And at that time we had problems. I had Curtiss Electric propellers on them. And they'd the governors on them, and the governor would take and adjust as a pitch on your propeller, keeps the right RPM on your engine all the time. They would, points would fuse and weld together.
Freeze,
and freeze right together.
Right together.
And it'd either go to full pitch or feather, and either one you lost an engine. So I'm changing the governor on it because we'd lost it. And I'm sitting right on the spinner of this thing, reaching in, changing it. And I hear this airplane taxi up beside me, and I didn't pay attention. I keep on working. Finally, I heard somebody say, "What are you doing, Sergeant?" And it was about 9 o'clock at night. I turned around, and all I could see was this one star on his shoulder, and I'm trying to get off there and come to attention. He said, "Oh, take it easy." But that's how I met General Olds. He came up and wanted to know what my problem was. And I told him about these bad governors. And it wasn't, I'm going to say 3 months later, we had platinum points on them going. And
they never froze.
They never froze after that. Yeah.
Well, General Olds was quite a pilot himself, fighter pilot, was he not?
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to watch TV shows that had the airplanes and had quite a bit of our astronauts back when they were fighter pilots on it and so forth this way. And back then, Olds was, I think, maybe like a major, some that way, but he was well known even then.
Yeah, there was a... and his son is quite well known now.
Yeah. Okay.
What was you, an 18-year-old kid then?
I was an 18-year-old kid. I was 18 years old when I went in. Like I say, I wanted to be a pilot, so I enlisted in the Air Force to be a pilot.
That was the old Army Air Force.
Old Army Air Force. And washed out went to basic training in Miami Beach, Florida. And we washed out there, and they sent me to aircraft mechanic school, where I became a crew chief on a C-47 then. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That probably seems like yesterday, don't it?
Well, it's been a while back.
Now, I want to redeem you a little bit. You say you washed out. That's according to military standards.
Oh, yeah.
But you've been a pilot on your own.
Oh, yeah, I've been a pilot on my own after I got out. And in fact, that's what kept me from the Korean War. When I got recalled, I'd got my pilot's license, and I got my aircraft mechanics rating, civilian aircraft mechanics rating, and all that between World War II and the Korean War. When I got recalled, I stayed in the reserve, and I got recalled in the Korean War. They sent me to the air proving grounds. So I was on the test programs of different aircraft.
Sure.
And they were quite some interesting aircraft there. Might have some pictures. There's a good picture of two of them. This one here, if you notice that one on the top, it's without the fuselage, and then the picture right underneath it,
where they've added it on.
The fuselage is on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on that for till they disbanded the idea that the idea was one fuselage was fixed with a first aid station. You could fly it up to the front areas, leave the first aid station up there, and fly back and get another cargo and carry ambulance or people in stretchers back and forth.
Ambulance people, ambulatory.
As you look at that top picture, you can see right underneath the bottom that it's all flat there, and all that turbulence off that aircraft going right on your tail. And it was very, very hard to control that airplane without a fuselage.
Yeah,
and so,
I'll bet. Now, was that during the Korean War, you're saying?
That's Korean War. And the one down at the bottom, that airplane down at the bottom, that's a C-123. And it was originally a glider. We tried it with jet engines and with reciprocating engines. The Air Force finally accepted it with reciprocating engines. Being an old glider guy from World War II, that was the first thing I did when I was in. We stuck jet engines on one glider and reciprocatings on the other. And we cracked that one with reciprocating engines up down in Eglinfield, Florida.
Was it underpowered?
No, it was pretty well. It would get off real good because it was a glider. In fact, short field, real Piper takeoff.
It had big wings.
Oh yeah,
long wings.
Although in Vietnam, the same airplane, you probably have two jets, one out on each end. Auxiliary power to help them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was then. That was what I was in the Korean War mostly. I was on them 2 aircraft then. I was on this one until it cracked up, and then I went to the 120.
As crew chief?
As a crew chief.
Yeah.
Now, of course, back then in the Korean War, I wasn't a crew chief anymore. I was a flight engineer. I got promoted. The same thing.
Now the flight engineer, you sat in the plane and monitored the engines and so forth.
This one you could. This one you couldn't. It didn't have a control panel for the.
Oh, okay.
In the 123.
Okay.
This 120 it did have.
No, each one of those had a navigator. No.
Might have not. No.
That was up to the pilot, right? His instruments.
Back then, it was just like if we had GPSs back in World War II, we could have put every paratrooper right on their drop zone.
Yeah.
And navigation progressed a lot in that time.
Oh
Yeah. And there's the other airplane I flew in Korea a lot. It's the old A120 or B26. We used that a lot.
A20 was a little smaller.
The A20 was a little smaller.
B26.
Yeah.
That was an attack airplane.
Attack aircraft.
Right.
Yeah.
No, what's this one?
This is in the Korean War it was called a B-26. In World War II it was an A-26 because
it was a bomber.
And a bomber, a light bomber. And we did all our my airplane on the nose up here. I had 850s in the nose of my airplane.
Yeah. See that's the designation. A is attack.
Yeah.
Well, it's a B, it's a bomber.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they got all kinds of machine guns, and I think maybe even they mounted a cannon now and then.
Well, they never did on the 26.
On 26, okay.
They did on 25s.
25s, okay.
Yeah.
But
they might have on the 26, but I didn't know about it.
850s?
850s in the nose and 3 in each wing. You could touch them off and really tear up the ground.
Probably fly the airplane backwards.
Yeah, it could carry more armament than a B-17. At 26.
Is that right?
That 17 could carry more armament than B-17.
Don't close it up. What's the little red one there?
That's one of his.
That was one of my airplanes. That's one of the airplanes I own. That's a PA-12. No, that's my Stenson Voyager. Yeah, that's my Stenson Voyager.
Okay.
Yeah.
You still fly?
They seem to think I can't anymore because of the pacemaker in my eyesight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I did up until 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Enjoy it?
Oh, I enjoyed it all the time.
You own those planes and everything. That's been a large part of your life, I suppose. So
been around.
I know you enjoyed it.
And that's why my son, he's got his commercial license and flies and everything.
Yeah.
In fact, my son got his pilot's license when he was 16 years old.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, right.
Well, gentlemen, we're out of time. That's been very interesting, Jim.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Our next show coming up, we'll be talking to Mel. So if you see a veteran or somebody in uniform on the street, just walk up to them and say, thank you for your service. And thank you and good night.